I've been involved for a long time advancing women in product, and we actually just launched in Paris the French chapter of the program, which is kind of a cool experience to take the show on the road. I wanted to spend a few minutes to talk about sort of the opportunity I see, and then also talk about how we're approaching the problem space, but sort of an opportunity space at DocuSign. We have some of our team members here. If you actually turn around, you can raise your hand if you're a member of DocuSign. So you can ask some questions there as well. But I want to start with sort of the obvious of why we think that diversity and inclusion across women in product, but also all sort of bringing into not just gender diversity, but ethnic diversity as well. So we're currently focused on both, but we'll spend most of our time on gender diversity today. And the reason you should do is sort of obvious. I think that's for all of us, we recognize that creating a balance in how we think about products and how we think about what we want to build is super clear. But how many of you guys have read the McKinsey study on diversity in businesses? So a couple of you. It's kind of remarkable. In a far-reaching study, they were able to determine that it's just much better for your bottom line. So companies that had greater diversity, they had greater longevity, they had greater profitability, and greater revenue. So, in as much as the argument just makes sense on an obvious basis, then for those who don't buy it on the obvious basis, there's actually a pure financial, if you're self-serving, ROI benefit to creating greater diversity. So I've been in this role as Chief Product Officer for about 2 years, and there's been kind of, I was with Jen this morning and we were talking about it, Jen Zagowski, who's the product manager. It's been kind of a transformation in DocuSign as a whole, and then specifically in my department, around how we think most specifically about gender diversity. So I wanted to talk about the problem space, and then how we have we're far from, I think, sort of where we want to be, but how we keep investing. So at our company level, we went from having I think it's just one woman on the board to now I think we have 4. And that when we added 2, and this is a sad state of affairs, we were recognized as having great gender diversity on our board by having 2 women out of 12. I think so it's a sad state of affairs. Like we were invited to some sort of awards dinner where they recognized what I think is such a paltry showing. But we're now at a point where we have 4, and the chairman of, I don't know if that's announced yet. We have wonderful people that are on our board representing us, and Maggie Wilderotter, who has been on 50 boards, has joined our board. She's on the Costco board. She's on a lot of great. She's on the Yelp. I don't know what's the other the only one I use, not Uber, but I'm going blank. Lyft. I should mention, by the way, that I have like 101-degree fever right now, and I didn't want to bail out, so I'm a little bit under the weather. So if I seem a little bit off, that might be why. So and then wash your hands. Maybe we should. So she's on Lyft, and the story she has are amazing. The guidance she's giving us as a company is quite remarkable. And then on the management team, we've added 2 women leaders. And I'm watching, just being really transparent and open, I'm watching the dynamics of the boardroom and our executive staff totally change. It just doesn't feel the same way. And actually, being who I am, I actually appreciate that dynamic a little bit better than what can seem like if it's just a bunch of guys, kind of a little bit of a more old boys kind of a feel. And that has changed dramatically with the new CEO we have, Dan. We've always been pretty inclusive, I think now with the approach we have, we're starting to lead the charge. But then when I think about my team, I promoted the first vice president in product, who's a woman at DocuSign's history, and in working with her, I kind of learned a lot as a manager of executive women product leaders. And I've managed hundreds and hundreds of folks before. I was at DocuSign, started a company that just went public, and then before that I was vice president of product at AT&T. So large teams and small teams, tons of experience, but I continue to learn and become a better leader, and I still think I have sort of a long way to grow. One of the things I learned from Laurel when she was here, she's now a general manager at Microsoft, so I feel like that's a great testament to how we've been able to grow somebody who started out at DocuSign as a director and is now a GM. Well, one of the things in working with her and mentoring her, I realized there was a limitation. A limitation in that when she was coming to me with questions and I would guide her on how to show up in certain ways and say, hey, Laurel, your opinion is more right than wrong, and you have just as right to be able to share your opinion and stand up in any one of these situations if you're really confident in that I have your back and the team has your back and that you are a subject matter expert and a leader. There was something in being a male mentor to her that had a limitation. And so one of the things, and this is sort of moving past sort of into the practices of how we help, I recognize that that's a limitation. I actually matched her with an executive leader inside DocuSign who she could relate to, sort of also being a woman, so she could ask this question, like, how do you deal with specific problems with being a woman leader that obviously a male leader can't entirely relate to, and so that was a sort of a key learning. So I think in some ways getting matched with the right leader, and then also sharing if you have sort of a male mentor, saying, hey, do you also have somebody else who's a female leader that can actually help me grow in ways that maybe you might be limited. So that was one of the things I thought was really interesting. Another observation we had here at DocuSign is, the solution to a diversity problem, most people go, well, we just need to recruit more of whatever type that you're targeting. I think that's a failed strategy. I think it's a failed strategy if you can't look at the leadership or look at your coworkers and see more of your same. And so the inclusion piece, I think, is more important actually than the recruiting piece. And I don't know if you guys have felt that in your role as well, right? So in terms of the inclusion piece, and inclusion in sort of lots of different programs, we've rolled out a few. One of them that some of the folks in the room have participated in, we've actually we've hired an external mentor who is a former chief product officer to guide some of the folks on our team so that they can get questions answered about their career and growth, separate from working with employees inside DocuSign. Right, so there's some questions you may not want to even ask your manager, or may not want to ask your coworkers, or even sort of your mentors that are inside the company. And so this person, her name's Hope Curry, and she's wonderful to work with a few of the folks in the room. And they have sessions where over 3 months they get coached in whatever area they want to grow. I thought that was kind of a cool program that we were able to, it's a data program, we rolled it out to certain folks. We also we're now on to our third cohort of, the name of the program is this, what is actually the name of the Berkeley program that you guys went through? Yeah, the Executive Women in Leadership Program. We take folks from around the whole company, so it's not just one department, which also I think is quite helpful, because one of the big problems is community. Right? How do you create a network inside the company where you can go to with problems or opportunities? And so some folks have gone through this program. The feedback has been, while this content was really amazing, actually, Julianne has an MBA already from Berkeley, and you did your undergraduate at Berkeley as well, so this is like her third trip to Berkeley. Wasn't getting lost on campus very easily, but some of the feedback I got that I thought was really interesting was, yes, the content was amazing, but just as important was when we got together afterwards with our coworkers and we were able to sit down and talk about how would you apply the thing we just learned back at DocuSign. I thought that was kind of cool. And not last, but another sort of place where I found a great, meaningful use of resources is in the internal leadership or mentorship of team members for us. They're able to help solve specific problems related to DocuSign, so sort of client-specific people, by matching up folks on my team with a woman executive. They could say, well, how do you deal with the fact that I can't get this across the line, or how do you deal with that personality or this one problem? And so we've tried to employ more effort around inclusion, although recruiting is super important to us as well, because I think if you show up to a place and the people don't look like you, the people on stage don't look like you, they don't talk like you, it becomes hard to actually see yourself going to the place you want to get to. And I think where we want to be is we obviously want to get to a greater diversity of gender and ethnicity across DocuSign. So I wanted to do a short version of what we're doing and how we're doing it. And we also, there's a lot of these actually, the interesting group is, there's a group that was started organically in DocuSign 4 years ago called Women Who Get Shit Done. And I think that is the official name of the team, and it's now become a resource group, and there are 45, 50 members that attend regular sessions that are put on, and we show up as guest speakers, they bring in other guest speakers, and they work on solving problems, and they've become a pretty solid powerhouse of women who get shit done inside DocuSign. So with that, over to questions for you guys, anything that what is it that you would love to get out of today's session? Anything that I can answer on how we think about the problem or the opportunity inside DocuSign? Yeah.
So can you give us
Oh, and you have to say who you are, because I want to get to know you.
my name is Leela Gill, and I work for a company, I sell for a company called Direct Commerce on Montgomery Street. And my question is, can you tell us some things that your women should have done?
Yeah. So the question was, can you tell us a little bit about what women who get shit done have done at DocuSign? So why don't we ask one of the women who get some shit done? You want to grab the microphone?
Yeah. So hi, I'm Jen Zagowski. I lead our mortgage products here at DocuSign, and we've since turned off the shit, and we're women at DocuSign now. So we have a number of programs that was started by the SVP of Engineering and SVP of Web Sales, two amazing Robins. And it's really grown, as Ron said, into an organization. We have lots of different events and support systems that bring in men as well. Some of them have been around mentoring and coaching. So we've had kind of speed mentoring, kind of like speed dating, but speed mentoring. We've had one-on-one coffees with opportunities for people, women, to meet with people at a more senior level and get their input on things. And we're just launching actually another, I focus on the coaching and mentoring space, something called breakfast circles, taking groups of women in similar places in their career, putting them together in a group to start with coffee and get to know each other and co-mentor, and then bring in, specialists or executives to come join them around certain topics. So I'm really focused on the mentoring space. But we have some other programs that bring in, we've had some amazing speakers come in, CMOs, CEOs from other organizations. The board list was here once talking about getting more women on the board. So all different aspects. Julia, if you can think of any and other parts of the women. We have a women in product development group that's meeting. Lunch, and I was just talking to our head of engineering about a topic, maybe having someone from finance really talk about, we're a SaaS business, so a lot around MER, monthly recurring revenue, and having someone from finance come in and talk more about the financials of our business, important to lots of women in product and men in product development.
So Jen and I have worked together for off and on over 20 plus years. So we started our careers together at Pricewaterhouse. We then worked together at a company called Ingenio, then went to AT&T together, and then she joined me here 5 years ago. Yeah, so she can't get rid of me. Some of those programs actually become formal programs that are run throughout DocuSign. So we have 3 Cups of Coffee, where it's a program run by Heather Peterson, who's on our legal team, and it matches up folks across the entire organization who meet with executives and managers to get advice and coaching. And it's a kind of a very easy, lightweight way to get started. So for those who are either afraid on either side to pick up a mentor or to be a mentor, you can get, I think, a lot out of it. I've gotten a lot out of it being one of the mentors.
I'm Wendy Lynn. I'm from Yelp, and we've just started programs like this to try and help mentor both women helping women, but also women are being assigned to executives who are mostly male, given the mix. And we have found that there's a real mix in quality, and maybe only 1 in 7 or 10 are actually helpful. The rest are going through the process because they're trying and they're like, okay, I'll keep going, but very few women are actually getting much value out of it because the men aren't quite sure how to mentor the women. I was wondering, did you run into some of those things? Were there things that you guys did to help mentor the men who were trying to mentor the women?
It's like the snake eating its tail. And we hired a bunch of women mentors to mentor the men who helped the women. So I actually don't know that we haven't had the feedback, at least I haven't had the feedback that it hasn't been as helpful. I'm sure there are pockets that are more helpful than others. So I don't happen to have that feedback, but how would I, if we had more I could, but I'm trying to think of how I try to be helpful. I think one of the things being helpful is to realize your limitations as a mentor. So if the question is, I really don't feel secure as a woman in a conference room that has 30 people in it where I want to speak up, and you can say, well, you have the right, come on, you don't understand as a man exactly what you might be feeling in that situation. And so that's where bringing in actually women mentors as much as possible, and we went inside and outside to make sure that the team is supported.
So how did you get those outside mentors to come in?
I just recruited through my network. So, and I'm happy to introduce you to Hope. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jen Bibby from Verizon, and I'm curious. Want me to?
I'll be the microphone person as well.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi everyone, I'm Jen Gibbings. I'm just curious, are there any success metrics or ways that you're quantifying the outcome of the effort around these initiatives, particularly anything that is a requirement coming from senior leadership? So in order for them to continue to support and provide the resources and the time, are they looking for any KTOs or success metrics that are coming out of these programs?
I think it's a fantastic question, and the unfortunate answer is no, and the fortunate answer is no, right? So when we did a measurement inside DocuSign, I remember there was a company that got a lot of credit for normalizing salaries for women where there was a deficiency. I was like, what a great job. And then we went and did the same analysis, and we're like, actually, our salaries are already normalized, but we didn't get a medal. And we actually were treating women and men equally across every department and across different levels, and it was great insight, but it also, it meant that we didn't have the need where we're at such a deficiency where we had to take action. So most of this is from we know it's the right thing. If we felt, I wonder if we would have had more metrics if we felt we were in a greater deficiency position. But no matter what, as a business, you should have metrics to realize like what's working, what's not working, because there's only a finite amount of time in the day, and that's the part where I think we could probably do a better job. Any questions? Well, thank you for joining us today. I think it should be a pretty good day. There's some people I look forward to sitting in and hearing from as well. And with that, over to you.
Thanks so much, Ron. What a trooper. You're a 101 fever. Yes.